Well, good day to you, Canada. Welcome to Rebel Roundup. I'm your host out here on the prairies. It's actually a prairie day today. I'm Sheila Gunn Reid. This is our news and opinion show, and my fellow Flatlander, Lise Merle, is joining us from Regina. Lise, how's it going?
Oh, Sheila, today might be the best day of my whole life. The best day of my whole, and I know I say that on a routine, everyday, regular basis, but really, today is an extraordinary day in Leaseland. So it's so good to see you, so good to be here, and I just can't wait to get into it.
Oh, it's going to be a fun day. A lot of fun topics off the top of the show. But yes, people who are regular viewers of Rebel News, you already know and love Lise, but she's got something cooking in the background today, which is very exciting for both of us, but not so exciting for the politicians we plan to hold to account with what she's doing, both local and provincial. Now, we should tell everybody what we're doing, and then we'll get right into it because the first For Canada attack ad launched today, and it is spicy. But before we do that, let me tell you how you can get involved in the show, support the work that we do here at Rebel News out of the goodness and love of your heart for us here at Rebel News, as opposed to the forcible extraction of your money from your pocket by a liberal government to give to the completely unwatchable mainstream media. So if you are watching us on the wonderful free speech platform of Rumble, you can support our work by leaving a Rumble rant. That's their paid chat. If it is over the $5 US cutoff, we are hereby obligating ourselves to read it on air. If it's under that, we'll do our very best to make the time to get to it. But sometimes somebody needs the studio and the studio helpers after us. And on the recently remonetized, still censorship platform of YouTube, if you want to support us there, you can leave us a super chat. And again, the same rules apply with the $5 US cutoff. And if you are watching the recorded version of the show, you can also support us by leaving a super thanks. That's their paid comment. And throughout the show today, we will take sponsored ad reads. So it's how we pay the bills. I know sometimes I get a little bit of feedback saying like, "Oh, why do you take those?" Because we don't take Trudeau money or Carney money. So that's why we do that, and it's important for us to be able to fund our journalism here, so that we can, of course, right now cover the campaign. So that's that. Get chatting, get interacting with each other. Maybe you want to interact with us. But I have to tell you, uh, regular viewers will also know that Ezra Levant just launched a super PAC, as they say, a political action committee. It's called For Canada. Now, we will cover the work that For Canada does journalistically over here at Rebel News. But this is a separate entity. It's a third-party campaign group registered under Elections Canada. You can donate to the work that it does at forcanada.ca. So, and this, I would just want to show that little piece of advice that we want to give to people. Donations of $200 or more are disclosed to Elections Canada, which publishes donations on their website. So if you're shy, don't donate more than $199.
I would
Okay?
just like to correct that though. Do donate more than $199 in increments that are
Right.
less than 190. Yeah, you're going to donate 199, 199, 199 and 199 and then that's how you get around that. So,
And you can donate as a Canadian citizen, a permanent resident, or a business or other organization that operates
that's
in
right.
Canada. So there are
Yeah,
plenty of
yeah.
ways for you to just sprinkle
You
those
get
little breadcrumbs.
you're gonna get all your friends and families to donate 199. Yeah, but as for me, I'm gonna donate lots because I want my name up there front and center. I want to be a platinum sponsor of this initiative
Uncancelable.
because it is going to be it's going to be a game changer in this election. So get on board, people. It's a lot of fun working with Rebel News, and this is your way in.
And the first For Canada ad dropped today, and it
Ooh.
is spicy. Now, I don't want to say who made the ad itself. That's a bit of a secret. Um,
Mm.
but uh, this one is a banger, and uh, I just love it. It's just the perfect attack ad. It's too spicy for the Conservatives to have made, or any other third party group. Uh, it, Lisa's watching it cold. I want you to know what you think.
Okay.
Would you let Jeffrey Epstein watch your kids? Didn't think so. What about his accomplice, Ghislaine Maxwell? Hard pass. So why trust him? Mark Carney, Maxwell's friend, not yours.
Oh, we're going there. Oh, yes,
Yep.
we are going there. Yeah, because those relationships can't be denied. There were relationships between Mark Carney, his wife's sister, and this whole group of abject perverts. And I'm so
Yeah.
happy that we're shining a big bright light on this. I'm so happy.
Yeah, there's and that's the thing. He does travel in perverty circles. There's no way
Yes.
getting around that. I mean, there was the toxic culture of sexual harassment at the World Economic Forum that I think was instrumental in Klaus Schwab exiting his role as the chairman. Now he's still floating around like a bad stink at the World Economic Forum, but his official capacity ended sort of simultaneously as the harassment allegations happened. And we know Mark Carney, I mean, that's where we first encountered him, was at the World Economic Forum. So
Right.
these are the circles in which he travels, and I'm sure he's going to be just like Justin Trudeau, but I'm a feminist, while accusing the rest of us of the things that his friends are doing.
Right, and shipping his own kids off to gender abattoirs in the UK. This is who we're dealing with, Canada. I'm so happy that we're taking this head on, and that is a fantastic ad. It is
Isn't it
fantastic.
great?
Whoever created it is obviously a genius. A
Yes.
genius. Well done. Keep him away from your kids, your votes, and our country.
Your money, your guns. Yeah.
This is
Yeah, I just think it's lovely.
It is lovely. It's perfect. It's perfect. And it does open the door for people to be able to have these conversations with their friends and neighbors, because they are important conversations to have. And make no mistake, the Liberal Party is absolutely not wanting us to talk about this,
Right.
which is all the reason why we should be talking about it more. So, well done for Canada. Well done. Real proud of you guys.
Well, and imagine if, I mean, let alone Poilievre, but even Harper, if Harper had a tangential connection to Ghislaine Maxwell, the mainstream media would be burning itself down right now to talk about it. And
Without
yet we're
question.
not supposed to talk about this thing. They don't even
Right.
ask about it.
Anybody more right than the most left would be getting their butts handed to them over that kind of association, and they're
Yeah.
just glossing over it like it doesn't mean anything, and it absolutely does. If these are the circles that you run in, if these are the people that you hang out with, if these are the priorities that you have, I mean, what does that say about you? What does that say about you? I am a big believer that you are sort of an aggregate of your top 5 humans, right? And
Yeah.
it reminds me to keep my top 5 humans top quality people. But this is who Mark Carney hangs out with. So, what does that say about him? What does that say
Yeah.
about his family? It doesn't say anything good. That's for sure.
I'm curious. I forget the date, but I think by this time Epstein had already been charged and was serving time in Florida on that sweetheart deal a long
Right.
time ago. So it's not like all the people in this circle didn't know about him and Maxwell.
Right. And he was caught in public with Prince Andrew after that time. And these are very much the same circles. This aristocratic sorry, the
Er, yeah,
aristocracy in the
yeah.
UK. And and even then, after he was convicted and served time in jail over I forget what the
Be it on
charges
the
were.
weekends. Yeah.
Yeah, was it sex trafficking, or was it exploitation of
Minors, I think.
underage? Yeah. Yeah. That still wasn't enough reason to take a huge step back from Epstein in this scandal. And it's wild. This is just wild. And it's
Uh,
crazy that this is the best the Liberals could do. This is the best the Liberals could do. And they knew this. This information was available to them, and they
yep.
still chose him as a key advisor and as their all-star candidate that they were gonna shoe in. It is nuts that this is the guy that they picked.
Yep.
But that sums
Uh,
up the Liberal Party of Canada in a nutshell. Nuts.
exactly. Exactly. Scandal plagued men. Give us
Yeah.
another, right? Like
May
right
we
off
have
the
another?
yeah, give us another one, I guess. We've got again Brian Passafume, who yesterday tweeted his his organ
Organ.
inventory. He's got another one today. Not his organ inventory though. He says interesting exchange today in Windsor between Mark Carney and a French reporter. He struggles to answer her question, and halfway through was all like, "Screw this," and then just finishes answering in English. Calls Poilievre a conspiracy theorist. The
Okay.
more he has to, I don't think he has the stamina or the patience to be in a campaign. But let's watch him.
Okay.
Let's watch the thread being pulled out
Okay.
of Mark Carney's sweater as it unravels.
Pardon, la dernière partie de...
Juste, si vous pouvez traduire votre réponse sur la Chine, est-ce que vous êtes compromis?
Compromis, pas du tout. Pas du tout. Je travaille pour les Canadiens et les Canadiens. C'est facile. M. Poilievre, il devient de plus en plus fâché et désespéré. Il invente toutes les choses. Il est un homme he's a conspiracy theorist. He spends too much time with his MAGA friends, and he comes up with whatever he can think of.
Merci.
You can his body language it shows that he is trying to live transcribe from English into French, like the way that he's trying to
Yeah.
conjure the words and he can't quite, like, there's no there's no automatic translation going on in his brain. And like, make no mistake, Carney is losing Quebec every single time he does this. And Quebec is a liberal stronghold. Like, more
Yeah.
of this, please. More Radio Canada. Please ask him the questions in French so we can watch him like struggle for the answers and then switch to English like this.
Yeah, and I mean, I think it's ridiculous that the best he could land on whatever that question is, Pierre Poilievre is a conspiracy theorist, and he should go hang out with his friends with the Trump administration or whatever it was. Excusez-moi, Mark Carney, but were you not just endorsed by President Trump because you're a weak, feeble-brained man?
He was. Yes, he was so. And like, I will say this over and over. Post COVID, you can't be less than a 4 on the conspiracy theory scale.
I'm an 11.
You exactly that. Like, that is such a weak insult considering all of the things that conspiracy theorists have seen come true over the last several years. Like, what was absolutely outrageous to think 10 years ago, I even was like, okay, tinfoil hat wearing,
Yeah.
crazy. Now I'm right there with them. I was like, my tinfoil hat is a size 7. Thank you so much. But what a weak insult. Like, conspiracy theories, mega friends. You just, yeah, dude, you're the one that just got, you're the one that just got endorsed by Trump. So maybe just a little bit. Yeah.
Also, like, Carney is part of my conspiracy theories in that he's tangentially related to a global conspiracy of sex trafficking elites.
Right. A global cabal of sex traffickers. That's right. Mark Carney is, yes, I agree. He's part of my conspiracy theories too. Yeah.
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 I don't.
Because it wasn't an accident that he was chosen as a liberal leader. It wasn't. He was installed as the liberal leader. Like, who worse than a globalist banker with ties to an international elite sex trafficking ring? Who better for the liberals? I mean, honestly, it is. If you wrote this down like 5 years ago, Sheila, I would have said you are crazy. You are like, as if this could even be possible. And yet, this is the reality that Canadians are facing today.
I can't even tell you the number of times that I have said the phrase, it's not always aliens, sometimes it's demons, in like polite conversation lately. That's the scale of conspiracy theorist that I'm at these days. But yeah, Mark Carney is, I mean, if you told somebody 6 years ago, the monarchy is going to be connected to a global cabal of sex trafficking elite that would have a linear tie to the Canadian Prime Minister, who was elected, selected, coronated in
installed
in a very suspicious manner, and would serve as Prime Minister without holding a seat in the House of Commons, they would say, Sheila, you're mental. Here I am. I just explained today.
What size is your tinfoil hat, Sheila? I bet you're a 4 or 5. I bet you're a 4 or 5 tinfoil hat size. Yeah.
I'm using the barbecue style tinfoil for extra strength. No.
Oh, aren't we all? Aren't we all? Yes. Yeah. No, it's unthinkable.
It's bizarre. Now, another conspiracy theorist, this one from the left, is that there's some sort of Mark Carney momentum that I haven't seen yet.
Okay.
He has, as I repeatedly describe it, the Lord's waiting room showing up for his rallies. And then you have thousands of people turning up for Poilievre rallies. And it's like, that looks like a decent cross-section of humanity. You know, you got people from all backgrounds, you've got blue collars and obvious white collar people, and
so many young people. Like, it is
young,
shocking
old,
to see. Not shocking. It is really, really wonderful to see so many young people, especially young men, getting involved in this election. Like 25-year-olds that had no interest. That before this were just like, meh, whoever, it doesn't impact me. Politics is politics. It's incredible to see so many young people showing up. Just so heartwarming. And so, like, really, it just gives me so much hope. Yeah. You contrast. Yeah, go on, Sheila. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say there's like moms with kids. There's old people, younger people. There's guys who are still wearing their high vis stuff when they show up. So obvious blue collar people. You've got people who look like they just left their job at a corporate office to head over there in
Yes.
their like fancy slacks and pointy shoes. And so I think it's a lot different than the Mark Carney rallies, who apparently are comprised of affluent white liberal boomers who
Yes.
we should never underestimate their ability to screw the rest of us because they're apparently fine.
Yes. No. And that's just the thing. Mark Carney supporters are predominantly people who live in a little bubble of safety, who are absolutely insulated from all of these terrible liberal policies that have been unleashed on the Canadian public over these last 10 years. These are people who will do well no matter who gets in. So the status quo is absolutely fine for them. The Pierre Poilievre supporters are the young people, are the middle-aged people who have seen their quality of life plummet over this last 10 years and who want a chance at something better. The disparity just couldn't be more different than, those hundreds of normal, beautiful, hardworking Canadians for Poilievre, and then the tens of bitter old boomers that show up to hear Mark Carney deliver their pre-eulogy.
That's a great way of describing a Mark Carney speech. It's your pre-eulogy.
Yes.
Yeah, just warming you up to get you cold and put you in the ground. Yeah, a lot of them are like ex-government workers, so they have their comfortable pension for
yes.
life, while Pierre Poilievre's rallies are the people who are paying your pension for life. And yeah, just lined up
Look
for
at these guys.
hours.
Just gorgeous. Just beauts. Look at them.
Little people, high vis stuff. I love seeing the high vis stuff because those guys
too.
are probably in a blue collar union.
Those and the guys in camo or like their
Yeah.
Carhartt. Like I love nothing more than a man wearing Carhartt. The end.
Same.
So
Yeah.
I'm identifying them in the crowd. Just like, yes. It's just so beautiful to see. Just
I love
wonderful
it.
to see all those people showing up. Yeah. Well, those are people that understand the cost of another liberal government in Canada, and they are committed to not having that happen. It's just awesome. It's just awesome to see.
Now, we have to show this because this is from Mark Carney's Ego.
I love
it's a parody account.
Yes.
Former journalist and current Liberal candidate for Toronto Centre and former art broker to Mark Carney. He got fired for brokering an art deal.
He got fired from the CBC. Okay, guys, this is a former CBC employee who got fired for moonlighting as an elite art broker to the stars, including Mark Carney. Yeah, he did that.
Yeah,
he did that while he was working at the CBC. He sure did
and
that.
Interviewing these guys. That was the part I think that got him fired was, besides not divulging his side hustle, he was literally brokering art deals to people he was interviewing, but also didn't tell the people he was brokering the art deals for that he was taking a commission.
Right.
He was connecting people with on these art deals, like, oh, I know Mark Carney. Like, Mark, I've got an art deal for you. Didn't say that he was taking a commission of the deal that he was sort of connecting them on.
And just so we're all clear, the super high priced world of art collecting is one of the easiest ways to launder money on planet Earth, because it's all in the value of the piece, which is like highly subjective, and it is one of the easiest ways to launder money. So it's really interesting that that's what he got fired for, and that he also has ties to Mark Carney, and that he's now also a candidate. Like, oh, Sheila, make it stop. Like, make these people stop.
Oh, I know. And I was just going to show you my art that we picked up at the thrift store the other day, me and Lise.
Wait.
This is my art. I don't know if you can see this. This is the Interlake Polka Kings. An evening at home. Bill Willishen's Interlake Polka Kings. And I just loved the 70s vibe of this. It reminded me of Stan and Yosh Schmengi, the Schmengies from SCTV, and I'm like, I must have that for the studio. So one day you'll see it on the wall here.
That's right. You've never seen anybody happier in their lives than me and Sheila in a thrift shop,
Gosh.
picking up bargains and finding the raddest home decor items. Like, we are our happiest when we are thrift shopping or garage sailing. The end.
Oh, garage
Best.
selling. I'll tell you how terrible your stuff is before I pay too much for it, because I'm trying to get a good deal. But anyways, getting back to the point of Evan Solomon and he lives
Yes.
in a different world of art than me and my
Yes.
Interlake Polka Kings records.
We're
He
gonna
just
play that.
we should.
We're gonna.
He reposted this.
Ooh.
He didn't realize that Mark Carney's ego was a parody account. And if you look at the bus, now I'm not one to use this word. I don't
I am.
like. I don't like this word. I feel like I feel like it's a gross swear. But I'm also not the language police if somebody else is using it. And it is a very popular word on the internet right now. But Evan Solomon retweeted this thinking that this was really Mark Carney on this bus. Fact checking much from the journalisms? Nope.
That's CTV. CTV is where he used to be employed. But yet that's somebody who just takes a glance at their phone and goes, "Oh yeah, what a great shot of Mark Carney," and then reposts it real quick. How completely humiliating. And this is a guy who wants Canadians to think that he's a serious contender and will pay a lot of attention to the things that are important to Canadians. When he gets a tweet this wrong, like, congrats to Mark Carney's ego as an account.
Yes.
I mean, you couldn't get a bigger win on X if you tried. But look at this. I mean, how embarrassing! How absolutely.
And
And
I didn't notice the World Economic Forum logo on there till now.
it just, the more you look, the better it gets. And don't think that
Oh
the
my God.
Conservatives didn't see this and pick it up and start promoting it right. Like, it was absolutely a glorious day.
You know where
It
I
was a
caught it was on
glorious day.
Michelle Rempel Garner's X account is where I saw it. She was like,
She-
oh.
She gives the this emoji. Ugh, okay. Oh no. Oh no. Oh dear. Oh dear. Look what you've done, Evan. Look what you've
Now,
done. Oh, it's so funny.
this is, Evan Solomon was at CTV, and so they don't do a lot of fact checking, like strong fact checking, as you know. And the reason I just mentioned that is because they have hired Rachel Gilmore as their morning girl fact checker. Maybe we can bring that up. CTV hires Rachel. You know what? Actually, don't bring up that X tweet that I just posted because there are a lot of swears in there, and we can probably find a better way of talking about it. But they've hired Rachel Gilmore to fact check the election as one of the biggest spreaders of BS in Canada. We must all recall that she personally vouched for the guy who was spreading the fake story of truckers trying to set fire to an apartment building in Ottawa. She said that this is absolutely true. And then she's tried her best to make a career of claiming that people are somehow ideologically motivated extremists for, I don't know, just being on the right of the political spectrum. This is going to end in tears and a lawsuit or two, I bet.
I do too. And if our viewers haven't seen Alexa Lavoie's most recent piece on Rachel Gilmore and how she went to the United Nations and literally lied during her testimony at the United Nations. Alexa did such a beautiful job on that piece. It is a must watch if you're Canadian. Rachel Gilmore should not be trusted. Like, I wouldn't trust her to be a noontime weekend weather girl. And yet this is who CTV has picked up for a once a week takedown about the Conservatives, guaranteed it will be about the Conservatives until the election. I mean, you couldn't have found literally anybody else. This person is completely unqualified to be doing this.
Oh my goodness. Remember when she testified at the parliamentary committee, and I think
I
it was
have
oh,
I have a lot of big feelings
I
about
have a
it.
lot of big feelings about it, and I just inside me, it was like a full body cringe, like it was a full body dry heave. Just as a journalist, that this person is also in my field, and this was the best that they could round up to talk about misinformation, or I forget what she was talking about, but I
Yeah.
thought, shame, shame to the conservatives on that panel who didn't round up somebody on the other side, like Alexa Lavoie, who has been the recipient of countless amounts of violence perpetrated against her
Yes.
in the course of her work and
Yes.
censorship at the hands of the government. Instead, this is what they allowed to occur. I have a lot of feelings about this. You know what? You know how this is going to go? She got fired from Global News for spreading misinformation and being generally awful and unwatchable and unlistenable. Imagine the boomers that still watch the CTV having to listen to this
Yes.
as their fact checker. This tells me that CTV is going to be ideologically crazy during this election campaign if this is what they've got.
Without question, Sheila. And that's the part that's so concerning, is that here we have a lamestream, federally funded media company in Canada that's aligning with somebody who will lie, okay, who has lied, who does lie, and who's guaranteed to propagate mis and disinformation to the Canadian public all the way through the election. CTV didn't know this. Like, CTV didn't know this. This is going to do nothing but harm their credibility, and for an industry in Canada that has seen their trust absolutely plummet in mainstream media, this is going to do nothing to help them. So, I mean, congratulations, CTV. Dig that grave a little faster. Why don't you?
Yeah, I think that Gilmore's probably going to fire them too, or sue them too for wrongful dismissal eventually. So, I mean, we could just button that circle right up. I think that everybody's going to get what's coming to them there.
Can't wait.
Couldn't
wait to
happen
see
to a
it.
nicer bunch, as I say.
Right.
We've got a quick ad read here. We'll do some chats. And then we'll take a Rebel News ad break. This one is from Get the Tea. I want to tell you about getthetea.com. Getthetea.com carries a great selection of natural herbal teas that aid your body with an effective and gentle cleanse. Get the Tea comes in different flavors that are designed to cleanse your colon and help optimal digestive health. Getthetea.com also carries high quality supplements to help with stamina, blood sugar, blood pressure, and more. For the month of February, you guys, it's March. But if you roll back in time, you would have gotten $10 off two of their most popular supplements, Allison Advanced to boost immunity and Apple Cider Plus to help with weight management. Prioritize your health with the help of getthetea.com. Be your best self in 2025. Go to getthetea.com, enter discount code RUMBLE for an extra 10% off your order. That's getthetea.com, discount code RUMBLE for 10% off. That's getthetea.com, discount code RUMBLE. Okay, let's get to some of these. Kane and Mark, I am apologizing to you in advance, but I cannot read your chat on air. I can't.
Yeah. Love you.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Thank you, Kane.
Thank you.
I appreciate your support, but we will get our channel likely completely demonetized, and I could get sued. So I'm just not doing it. Save Canada gives us $5. You should look into Carney's wife, her sister, and her sister's husband being tied into Epstein. Moose on the Loose made a video. Please look at this. I know that Carney's wife's sister is the one that's friends with Ghislaine Maxwell. So that's the connection there.
Yeah, and in the little black book, in the little book of contacts, their contacts, there was like 6 different levels of reaching them in that book. So don't tell us that there's no association. Don't try and tell us. We know better. There are people that are trying to lie to you, Canada. Don't believe them.
That's right. Nancy Copeland coming in with a spelling mistake, but I think I figured out what you mean. Thank God for Rebecca's news. I think you mean Rebel News. You guys are awesome. Yeah, How can anyone with one brain cell fall for that perverted crook? AMA work, you guys. Yeah. Johnny
Nancy.
Truth, go ahead.
Yeah, no, thank you, Nancy. That's really nice of you to say. We appreciate that.
Johnny Truth gives us $5. Johnny, I don't see your chat. Maybe it didn't attach. You hit send before you said something, but I'll ask the team right now to take a look in case we missed that. That's me. Oh, Bonnie D correcting me, reminding me to not make broad sweeping statements, because I mentioned yesterday that it is elbows up, bone density down at some of these campaigns or at these elbows up events. And Bonnie D corrects me, and I'm glad for it. But hopefully you took it as just good humor, because as a woman in the throes of middle age, I have to worry about these things too. She says, I'm a boomer with osteoporosis, by the way. However, I'm an awake boomer. Thank you so much. No King Carney for me. Will for Canada be campaigning for Barbara Ball in the Nepean riding? I hope so. Now, that's Mark Carney's drop-in riding. He says he's from Alberta. He's not campaigning here.
Yeah.
He's campaigning in Nepean, and Barbara Ball is the excellent Conservative candidate there.
Yes, which is the former riding belonging to Chandra Arya, who they disqualified from the Liberal leadership race. So
Right.
thanks so much for that. Thanks so much for that chat. And like we love nothing more than the boomer mamas who are awake.
Right.
Like, thanks so much for joining us. We're so happy
Yes.
to have you. Yeah, but this Barbara Ball, like, wouldn't that be a get? Like, wouldn't that be a get if she could pull off a win? We
Yeah.
could Kim Campbell Mark Carney right off the bat and rob him of his seat. I mean, this is where all of Canada should be prioritizing their prayers and their good wishes and their volunteer hours and their whatever you can contribute to Barbara Ball's candidacy. We should, because that would be the quickest way out of this, is to get Mark Carney not in a seat, not being the prime minister, and he can go back to being a devious World Economic Forum hustler.
I'm old enough to remember about 18 hours ago when Justin Trudeau admonished the Americans for electing a man instead of a woman. And here Mark Carney is in Nepean, dropping in to try to steal the place of a strong, empowered female politician.
Well, Sheila, but he wouldn't even be able to define female, now would he? What is that? There's what even is a woman to the Liberal Party of Canada? They're just people to be trampled. They're no different than anybody else. Look at this. Like, what a misstep by the Liberal Party of Canada. What an absolute misstep.
If Mark Carney ever allows independent journalists to ask questions of him, or for that matter, any of his candidates, and we'll get to that after the break.
Yeah.
I would like to ask him, your former leader, your good buddy, Justin Trudeau, said it was a great shame that the Americans chose a man over a woman in this day and age of women's empowerment. How do you square that circle now, running against this strong, accomplished woman in the Nepean riding?
Yeah, and she is I saw some of her stuff in the last couple days. She is a fantastic public speaker. She is a diehard conservative, and she would do a lot of good for that riding. As a matter of fact, in my DMs on X, I'm talking to a writer from out that way, and he lives in this riding. So there is a groundswell of support for her. I hope she feels it. Just watching her X following over the last couple of days, she started off with something like, I don't know, 1,900 followers. Now she's over 20,000. There is a great deal of interest in this conservative candidate in the Nepean riding, and I think we're all recognizing the importance of making sure that she wins.
Yeah, and she's got a lot to say about the decade of darkness under the Liberal government when it comes to public safety. So police officer, but also served in the Royal Canadian Artillery as a reserve, in the reserves. So this is I mean, she's just an excellent recruitment for the
Yeah.
Conservatives.
Yeah. She's no shrinking violet, that's for sure. And that's exactly what we need in this time. So good for her. Good for
All
her.
right,
It'd be incredible if she won.
let's take a break, and then let's talk about this thing that the Liberals did to Juno News in Calgary yesterday, or 2 days ago. Sorry, it's quite wild.
Hey, do you remember how the media party talked about our Canadian flag during the Freedom Convoy of the truckers? They hated it. They hated them singing our anthem. These are the same people who stripped John A. Macdonald off the $10 bill. But now that Mark Carney is campaigning against Trump's tariffs, suddenly Canadian patriotism is cool again? I mean, look at this.
Everyone sees the main threat as the Trump tariffs. And Donald Trump, as we know, has put, as the Prime Minister just said, unjustified tariffs on what we build, on what we sell, on how we make a living. He's attacking Canadian families, workers, and businesses, and we cannot let him succeed. Because when we are united, we are Canada strong.
Funny how that works, but I didn't need tariffs or approval from politicians to stand with Canada. You know, I've been a flag-waving patriot for a while, including when the truckers went to Ottawa. Still am now. That's why we just launched a new merch line called I Didn't Need Tariffs to Start Loving Canada. I like this one with the trucker protest imagery. It reminds me that these now proud, woke liberal Canadians that, well, they're a bit late to the party, and I don't believe them, by the way. Get yours now at rebelnewsstore.com.
All right. Okay. We've got another couple of chats. I just want to I want to address this one because then we can move on. Guillotine Press gives us $10 and says, according to Moose on the Loose on YouTube, this is why you should not always believe everything that you hear unless they show the documents like we do, or show some other sources other than just opining. Moose on the Loose on YouTube, the crazy lady in Alexa's recent video, that's the one where she let her dog just crap on the ground and carry on. Just sort of a perfect sort of analogy for what the Liberals have done to Canada in the last 10 years.
Right.
Was none other than Pamela Wallin. Please fact check, too good to be true. Pamela Wallin is a Conservative senator. That was not Pamela Wallin.
No. I could see how people would draw the no, that's not her. No, I could see how people could sort of draw similarities, but she would not be defending the Liberals in this moment.
No, that lady's name is Elizabeth Bannerman. That's not.
Is it?
Yeah, that's not Pamela Wallin. So yes, we did fact check, and that was too good to be true. And of course, Pamela Wallin was appointed by
Stephen Harper.
By Stephen Harper to the Senate, and she's excellent. She chairs a couple of committees.
Saskatchewan senator from Wadena, Saskatchewan. If you are ever in the area, Wadena, Saskatchewan makes the best cinnamon buns in the country, and I will go to war over this.
No, Dave from behind the scenes at Rebel News says Nepean is pronounced Nepean. Did I say that right? Nepean?
Oh.
Nepean. Sorry, we're Westerners. We have words that you pronounce them and they don't even look like the word. For example, how do you say Saskatchewan?
Saskatchewan.
Okay,
Real
so
fast.
Real fast. Saskatchewan.
Yeah. Saskatchewan. Saskatchewan.
Yeah, Saskatchewan. Yeah. Or there's this beautiful village just north of me. It's called Wasetna. Not even close to how it would be spelled. It's spelled Waskatenau. So Waskateno, but we say Wasetna. There's no K in how we say it. Yeah.
Right. Thanks for that correction, though. Like wherever you want to get our pronunciation right, please leave us a chat. Thanks so much.
I can tell that's how I know people are from like the eastern parts is how they say Saskatchewan, because it's not Saskatchewan,
Saskatchewan. It's
Yeah.
Saskatchewan. Just real fast.
Saskatchewan. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know because my hometown, technically, if you're looking on a map, would be Fort Saskatchewan. All right. We've got another one. Kenzie Kraken, $5. Carney's dad, Robert, was a respected educator who believed residential schools were a good thing despite some issues. He was a historian. Drea is doing a piece on this. Now, he documented the bad, but he also documented the good. He took a very nuanced view on this. And if the NDP and a faction of the Liberal Party has their way on this issue, Mark Carney's own dad would be a criminalized residential school denier. And so that's a question somebody needs to ask Mark Carney. Do you believe residential school denialism should be criminalized? And if so, will you be slapping the handcuffs on your old man posthumously, I believe.
That's right. That's exactly. And Kenzie, thanks so much for bringing this up. It's this is one of the details that wouldn't maybe percolate up in a conversation, but thanks so much for shining a light on this, because indeed Mark Carney's dad was part of the residential school experience in Canada and didn't have a lot of criticisms for it. He said that a lot of good happened there and really work to shine a light on the good that happened in residential schools. So thanks so much for bringing this up with us today. You guys are on fire with the chats. I love it.
Yeah,
I'm loving this.
Yeah. Nana Awake gives us $10 and says, we need to focus on a Take Back Canada campaign. I'm beyond tired of this fake Team Canada led by those who profit from destroying every aspect of Canada and what it means to be a Canadian.
Nana Awake got it on the nose. Yes, you're right.
Further to pronunciation. Again, Dave behind the scenes says Calgary is another example of this. If you say Calgary, I know you're not from here.
Calgary.
Prairie Strong. Yeah, Calgary. Prairie Strong in the YouTube chat just mentioned the same example, said Calgary, not Calgary. Yes, that's how I know you're a foreigner from a distant and exotic land like Toronto.
You're from east of the Saskatchewan-Manitoba border. If you say Calgary. Yeah, Calgary.
Calgary.
Say it just real fast. Just say it real fast. Yeah, Saskatchewan, Calgary. Yes.
Okay, now I just want to touch real quick on this thing I had to do this morning. I had to make a statement from the desk of the Independent Press Gallery this morning. Why? The Liberals continued their absolute insane treatment of the independent press in this country. The Independent Press Gallery condemns the actions of Thomas Keeper, the Liberal candidate in Calgary Confederation. Now, Calgary Confederation, the Liberals might win it. Anyways, he called the police and made false statements about an independent journalist attempting to ask legitimate questions during the federal election campaign. On March 24th, the Juno News reporter, Cian Bexty, approached Keeper outside of his campaign office. It's not like he was at his house. He was at the campaign office. Where are you supposed to find politicians during the campaign? To deliver a set of written questions regarding serious allegations. The entire interaction was recorded on hidden camera. The footage shows Bexty remaining calm and professional throughout the exchange. Despite the peaceful encounter, Keeper called police and falsely claimed the journalist had got physical with him, an accusation that is completely contradicted by the unedited video evidence. According to Juno News, the police were told this fabrication was the basis for pursuing a restraining order against the reporter. This is a clear attempt to misuse law enforcement as a tool to silence political scrutiny and chill press freedom. It is unacceptable for any candidate for public office to weaponize false allegations against journalists simply because they do not want to answer uncomfortable questions. This is part of a growing pattern of hostility toward independent media by Liberal politicians who refuse to engage with reporters outside of the government-subsidized press corps. Journalists have a duty to hold power to account, especially during elections. Politicians who run for office must be prepared to face scrutiny, not call the police when it arrives. The IPG calls on the Liberal Party of Canada to immediately disavow Thomas Keeper's actions and to clarify whether this tactic of suppressing journalism is sanctioned by the party. Signed, Sheila Gunn-Reid, Independent Press Gallery of Canada. in my role as the president of the Independent Press Gallery, I have to take sort of an interrogative approach, but Sheila Gunn-Reid of Rebel News says this is absolutely a pattern of dealing with independent press by the Liberal Party, as evidenced by the times that Mark Carney keeps calling the cops on independent journalists.
In a serious country, this candidate would no longer be the candidate if it
He
was
would
found.
be charged.
Oh, without question. Misappropriation of police resources, false allegations of.
This
Oh,
is
of course,
filing a false statement.
This is insane. But what's really interesting about this story that caught my attention is that Cian Bexley of Juno News says that he was trying to get him to answer some questions about serious allegations. And that is the story that we must pay attention to, because Cian Bexley tried to get in contact with Thomas Keeper, the Liberal candidate for Calgary Confederation, by email, by text, by phone call, and was ignored. So this was the last kick at the can for Cian, right? You are allowed as a journalist to stand on a sidewalk and ask pointed questions of people who are asking for your votes, okay? And it to be suspect to anybody in Canada who sees a guy that reacts like this. Watch him. He's going to run. Whoop! Look at him. This is a man that has something to obviously hide. And we are going to pay attention to the allegations that Cian Bexley says he was trying to ask questions about. But again, in everyday world, this man would no longer be a candidate. He would be turfed by the party. But this is the Liberal Party of Canada who has no scruples whatsoever.
Oh, and I don't know if you could see there, they were also recording the interaction. So they have proof of their own lies on their side. I hope the police go and get that. But further to responsible journalism, before you run a serious allegation against a member of, like public office or anything like that, responsible journalism, and to make your journalism defamation proof, and you'll see us do this all the time. As I say to our journalists, give yourself time to be subsequently ignored by the subject of your investigation, because by and large, they never get back to you. But if you are ever accused of libel or defamation, you can say, I reached out, I gave them 24 hours to get back to me. They didn't even respond to me. So Cian is going to run something that is of such serious consequence that not only he called, he emailed, but he went in person to hand deliver written questions before he runs his story. That is responsible journalism that he's trying to do to make his work bulletproof from litigation. And Thomas Keeper made false statements to the police, and the cops showed up instead of just taking the piece of paper and answering the questions. If you have nothing to hide, answer the questions.
That's right. That's exactly right. Yeah, no, this is a man that's got something to hide, obviously. So it'll be interesting to see. It'll be really interesting to see what that is. But thank God Cian Bexley had a hidden camera on him. This is where we're at in Canada with journalism. And this is where we're at with our once high trust Canadian society is you can't do anything without proof, because they will bury you. They will use lawfare against you. And thank God he has that video evidence to be able to buck this, because Thomas Keeper is asking for a restraining order against Cian Bexley, a restraining order. Yep. So I mean, I'm just going to be watching this real closely, and we'll be able to keep you guys in the loop on any developments.
Now, let's get into Mark Carney, because the problems with his finances continue. So yesterday we learned that Brookfield sought $250 million loan from a Chinese state-owned bank just 2 weeks after he took an official position on the economic task force or whatever it is of Justin Trudeau. And then so that's a thing. And then today, and I think the Conservatives are going to breadcrumb this stuff throughout the entire campaign, we find out he's using a Bermuda tax shelter for some of Brookfield's assets to escape the high taxes he was advising the Liberals to impose on the rest of us who are too poor to use a Bermuda tax shelter. But first, Mark Carney attempts to defend his finances from increasing conflict of interest scrutiny. If you would just show us your assets, the questions would stop, right? But he's not doing that. Let's watch this.
I own nothing now.
I
came
own
into
nothing.
public life at a
Okay.
time of crisis. I put my hand up because of the crisis, because of what's represented by that bridge, what's represented by the threats to these good men and women of Unifor and their colleagues across southwestern Ontario and across Canada. I came in. What I've done is put all my affairs in order well in advance. I own nothing but cash and personal real estate. So, and that's not going to change. In public life, that's not going to change. It's actually quite straightforward.
So then, just to be clear, then going forward, you have no potential equity stake, no potential stock options, or any other potential future payments that you currently anticipate could come from either Strike or Brookfield.
So what I have is cash, personal real estate, and their assets all those assets were divested into a blind trust, which is managed by a trustee. And it literally means exactly what it says. I don't know what's in it.
Yes,
I'm
you do.
Yeah, no, exactly that. And I just want to say real quick, I'm so happy he mentioned Unifor there, because if it weren't for the support of public sector unions, the Liberal Party of Canada would have no support at all. But make no mistake, Canada, Mark Carney is the exact type of guy who would use foundations and trusts and economic backdoor products and services to be able to hide all of this stuff from regular everyday Canadians. Like you said, Sheila, if he's using offshore accounts in Bermuda to store the money, to hoard the money of Brookfield away from paying taxes in Canada, what other products would he be using to hide his personal assets? Like this guy just wants us to believe that he has $30 in a wallet and a condo in Ontario, and that's all he's got in the world. He's just put his hand up and he's just doing this out of the goodness of his heart. Baloney.
As if
Like his wife.
He says, I don't know what I own. You don't know what you own. You just took it from you and put it in a blind trust, but you knew what it was and what it was doing before you moved it into the blind trust. So just tell us what it was.
That's exactly right. And his wife, his wife could have all of the assets under her name, which absolves him. Like, he's not being forthcoming with any of his financial disclosure. He's not being forthcoming about his relationship with Brookfield. And I like that the reporter asked him about, any stock options or any conflicts that might arise out of that. He claims there are none, but we know better. This is not a man who flies on private jets and has done 10 years worth of work on net zero and carbon neutrality and work for the WEF and work for, all of these really, really elite institutions, and doesn't have a buck in his pocket. Like, does he think we're stupid? I think he does. Yeah.
Reporters continued to press Mark Carney on issues with his assets and potential financial conflicts of interest that he might have from Brookfield Asset Management. So he is having a tough day, and he's starting to run out of patience.
The structure of these funds is designed to benefit the pension funds, the Canadian pension funds that invest in them, the Caisse de dépôt, Ontario Teachers as two examples. The beneficiaries of those pension funds, teachers, retirees, municipal employees, they pay the taxes on their pension. That's the design. The follow-up is how do I know? I understand how the world works and the structure works, and have the ability to put in place all of the necessary rules to ensure that the appropriate taxes are paid here in Canada, as is the case in the example that you just gave. The taxes are paid. Ils sont payés ici au Canada. OK, d'accord. Ensuite.
Hi, Mr. Carney. Tom Perry with CBC. Could I just follow up on that? Could you explain in the case of those Brookfield funds, like what was the argument for registering the funds in Bermuda? Is it ethical to do that? And is it something as Prime Minister that you'd have to crack down on? I'm not sure if it's a problem, but is that something that you'd have to crack down on?
I think the important thing, Tom, is that the flow through of the funds go to Canadian entities who then pay the taxes appropriately, as opposed to taxes being paid multiple times before they get there. So that's how we have the structure. That's the structure that all of our pension funds, par exemple, the Caisse de dépôt, or Ontario teachers, or OMERS, municipal employees, or all the big pension funds in Canada, which are very successful, which protect union workers in many cases. I'm speaking of union workers today, and supply to them. It's those entities and their employees who are covered. So the structures work for that effect.
What's the advantage, though, of putting it into a place like
it ensures that it's an efficiency of a structure, so that ensures that the flow through goes to the entities that are resident in the countries.
But is it avoiding tax in any way?
It doesn't avoid tax, because the tax is paid in, for example, the examples all I gave, the taxes are paid.
Then why put it there?
Right.
Okay.
Next question, back.
Hi, Mr. Carney. Mackenzie Gray with Global News. Just on your personal assets, do you have any in Stripe and Brookfield? Do you have any equity, stock options, or anticipate any future payments from either two of those?
Why put it in Bermuda then? Like, if it's not for tax avoidance purposes, why put it in Bermuda? But I just want to go back to your point about union workers and Unifor.
Yes.
He keeps talking about Unifor. For those of you at home who don't know, Unifor is also the journalism
union.
That's their union.
In Canada.
That's their
Yes.
union.
Oh, their tentacles are everywhere, and I'm so happy that they brought these union pensions into it, because if who is he kidding? That he's collecting pension money, then investing it in Brookfield, and then Brookfield is paying out to the pension to the pension funds in Canada, who pay taxes on the returns. I mean, this circle is not going to jerk itself, so they say,
Yep.
if it weren't for the help of Mark Carney and all of his insider knowledge into all of these really highly complex economic moves. I mean, what we're seeing here is a masterclass in legal corruption, is what we're seeing.
And he thinks that he can just say, like, look, it's for efficiency. What sort of efficiency? Tax efficiency? Tax avoidance?
No, really.
Yeah.
No, really.
Wouldn't it be nice if we had some efficiency in our Canadian tax structure, so that these mega management funds didn't park a pile of money offshore in Bermuda?
That's it. It really looks bad, doesn't it, Sheila? Like, it really looks bad. And yet
I find myself siding with the NDP on this. Look at this from Juno News. Jagmeet Singh. And look, I'm all for finding tax efficiencies. I would park my money in Bermuda if I could. The problem is Mark Carney is the guy who made the tax system less efficient by whispering in Justin Trudeau's ear about how to make it worse for regular Canadians, while he's so rich he can avoid his bad ideas. Jagmeet Singh from Juno News.
Recently, that Mark Carney was personally responsible for two funds. He's the chair of Brookfield Investments, but he's personally responsible for two funds totaling $25 billion. And while he was chair, he chose to register those two funds, even though they're Canadian, he chose to register them in Bermuda for the sole reason of avoiding paying taxes. Right now it's tax season. Hardworking Canadians are paying their taxes. They can't choose to register in Bermuda to avoid paying taxes. They got to pay them here. And they do that because they believe that we contribute to our healthcare system. We contributed to taking care of each other. When we pay our taxes, we're paying into a program that lifts each other up. Well, Mark Carney was not just the chair of this entire company, but personally responsible for these two funds. He chose to register in another country to avoid paying those taxes. That's less money for healthcare, less money for seniors. That's less investments in our country. And so now, just a couple months later, he wants to be prime minister. A couple months ago, he was avoiding paying taxes in our country, and now he wants to be prime minister. It makes me wonder, is he going to be working for families, for people like Michelle, or is he going to continue to favor the companies that he worked for, like Brookfield? Is he going to allow them to get away with skirting, paying their fair share, allow them to continue to register in other countries so that they don't pay their fair share? Will he favor those companies, or will he stand up for Canadians? I think these are fair questions, and I think it disturbs me, and I'm sure Canadians are going to hear that and be disturbed as well.
Okay, well, this might be the first time that I agree with Jagmeet saying, okay, so write it on the calendar.
I agree, but not on the principle.
Right. No, because yes, agreed. But these are questions that we should be asking of Mark Carney. So I just use Grok on X to tell me that. So we all remember that Mark Carney also just in last fall moved Brookfield Asset Management from Canada to the United States. And they have 2,400 employees that are no longer going to be paying taxes in Canada either. So this is obviously a tactic that Mark Carney uses to bolster his shareholder his shareholder stock in Brookfield, or to benefit the shareholders of Brookfield. And this is more than concerning. Like, it's more than concerning that this is the guy that wants the top job in the company. How else will he sell us out, Canada? How else will he sell us out?
Now, on the flip side, Poilievre says he sold his foreign investments and now only holds Canadian companies' stocks after Trump tariff threats. Let's hear this. This just broke now.
The answer to the other question was whether I have investments in tax havens. The answer is no. After President Trump began threatening our economy, I sold my investments in foreign economies, and now I invest in Canadian stocks and Canadian companies. I brought my money home to this country, and we will, in our platform, be cracking down on the types of tax havens that Mark Carney has used to cheat the system. We will ensure that the fancy big bankers pay their fair share. If waitresses and plumbers and mechanics have to pay taxes in Canada, then the big shot bankers should have to pay taxes here as well, and that is how it's going to work when I'm Prime Minister.
Fair enough.
Let's go, buddy. That's how it's done, Canada. That's a man with integrity that's walking the walk and talking the talk and doing the things that he's literally showing Canada that he's investing in us pre-prime ministership, should he have the pleasure of winning. And then you have Mark Carney on the other side that's like, nah, I just ship it off. I dump it in sketchy offshore accounts for efficiency reasons. Baloney. What a staggering difference in approaches there. But props
Completely.
to Poilievre. Props to Poilievre.
I have a problem with a country where the tax system is so convoluted and high that it incentivizes people to put their money in tax havens. That's why I agree with the NDP that Mark Carney is a hypocrite, but I disagree with the NDP when they say, oh, people are not paying their fair share. What's my fair share?
Yeah, they would take it all.
NDP, they would take it all, right? So I don't like that language. I want a tax system that's fair for everybody, that doesn't incentivize tax schemes in other countries. And under Mark Carney, the punishing tax system was something that you and I could not escape, but he could because he's got the money.
Yes, that's exactly right. And I think that this goes to show that Poilievre is putting his money where his mouth is. So right now, our Canadian economy is not doing well because of 9 years of Liberal mismanagement. And what he's actually doing is making less money for himself personally by investing in Canada now. I think that says a lot about his plans to help our economy recover, and his confidence that he'll be able to do exactly that, or he wouldn't be putting his own money on the line. So well done him. That's a master stroke in showing Carney how it's done.
Yes. I want to get to everything that's on the headline, which is really important.
Okay.
And you have stuff to work on this afternoon for Rebel News. But I want to show this because it just shows how unhinged the left is. We saw the left calling the cops on independent journalists, and now a Jagmeet Singh supporter. Funny how you could find one in the wild. But anyway, Jagmeet Singh supporter assaults a citizen journalist by grabbing his arms and trying to take his phone. Why are leftists so violent? I would drop that guy like a sack of potatoes. But let's watch this.
Yes, I am.
Don't touch my camera. Don't touch.
Just don't need you to put your camera in my face, please.
No, if they're not here
Don't
for
touch my camera.
They shouldn't be allowed on the property.
Whoa, whoa! You can't touch me. Whoa, whoa, whoa! Don't touch me. Keep your hand. Okay.
Get your phone
I didn't
out of
realize that I
people's
would. Do I have any rights?
What did he say? I didn't realize?
I didn't realize. Do I have any rights? Do I have any rights to physically assault
No,
somebody and
you
try and
don't
take
have
their
rights.
property? Look at this guy. You can tell just by looking at him, though, that he is part of the woke brigade. Okay, part of the woke brigade that will become violent and then immediately turn around and play the victim. Immediately, I bet he's turning around right now and accusing that guy with the camera of being transphobic and homophobic and a bigot. Like, just yeah, look at this. Look at this.
That guy has more patience with that little woke weirdo than I would.
In his little gauzy linen shirt. Look,
Right.
everybody else is in winter gear in this gauzy linen shirt, sort of disheveled lefty. Look at him.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, that's exactly how they all are, though, Canada, right? Like that. And if you haven't had the pleasure of being assaulted by a radical left-leaning lunatic, I don't recommend it. I seriously don't.
It's no fun. It's no fun. I
No.
had my camera punched into my face by a man just like that who assaulted me, and then the women around him were like, "Are you okay? That must have been traumatic for you." They're saying this to him as they whisk him away from me. So yeah, this is the mindset of these people. They think they have a right to assault you because they are from the mindset of words are violence, and your ideas that you haven't even articulated, but they fear might be percolating in your head, those are also violence. And so it is okay for them to meet your word violence and thought violence with physical violence,
With
because
actual
for
violence.
them, it's self-defense. Can't you see?
That's exactly right. And yeah, in my situation, I was physically assaulted twice by radical trans activists, both times in front of my kids. So even if you're trying to shield your kids from this, they will not take that as a stop sign. I mean, they will. I just don't recommend it. I don't recommend it. But this is why we fight the woke left, Sheila, isn't it? To put an
Yes.
end to this madness, so people can be free to think and say and act the way that their conscience directs them to, and put an end to this in Canada. So
Imagine a campaign event that is full of cameras and you think it's illegal to film in public. Like, like imagine the mindset of that dude.
Yeah.
Any denunciation from the NDP campaign? None.
No.
None. If someone said a mean thing to a CBC reporter, though, looked snidely at the likes of Rachel Gilmore, oh my goodness, she'd be back testifying at the United Nations.
Yeah.
Think of the big feelings. Okay, let's keep going. Carney is this one I really want to talk about because Carney is asked about the Ambassador Bridge blockade during the 2022 Freedom Convoy. And he says, oh my goodness, what would I know about the Freedom Convoy? I was just a guy back then. I just became a politician weeks ago. Okay, buddy. I'll tell you why you're not just a politician newbie on the scene on this issue after we hear from him, thinking we're all hard of remembering for some reason.
Right.
You're in an area that back in 2022 was the site of a week-long blockade by people who were angry about the Trudeau government's COVID policies. What do you say to those Canadians who lost trust in the Liberal government back then and do not have trust in you now because of your affiliation with that party?
Well, look, I haven't been a politician. I became a politician 2 months ago, a little more than 2 months ago, 2.5 months ago. And I came in because I knew this country needed big change. We needed big change in the economy. We needed big change in how we supported people. We needed big change to deal with Trump. And I think you've seen that in the short time that my government has been in place, that big change. We canceled the consumer carbon tax. We got rid of the capital gains tax. We put in place a series of protections for workers with respect to the Trump tariffs, whereas Mr. Poilievre would just use all of that money that belongs to them because they're the ones who are being hit, use them to cut taxes for others. We extended dental care. We negotiated new security partnerships with our oldest partners in France and the UK. I could go on, but Mr. Chase is waiting. Part of how you re-earn trust, and I understand the frustrations of those people, I understand the frustrations with respect to the cost of living. Part of the way you earn trust is by action. And what this government is all about is action.
What? That entire humongous word salad has absolutely nothing to do with the question. And what we're watching here, Canada, what we're watching happen is seeing Mark Carney in real time learning his 3 or 4 talking points. So you remember back in the dark days of Justin Trudeau and Chrystia Freeland when they were in front of all of the country's cameras, and no matter what question they were asked, they would fall back on their standard 3 or 4 speaking points. We're watching Mark Carney do this in real time. So what he's gonna say is, we're in a tough economic time. Trust requires action. I'm the guy that's going to be able to deliver these actions to Canadians. And I wasn't a politician until 2 months ago. So he's positioning himself as still an outsider to this entire incestuous group in the Liberal Party of Canada, when we know nothing could be further from the truth. Sheila, tell us what Mark Carney knew about that bridge. Tell us.
I'll tell you what Mark Carney knew about the Freedom Convoy for sure. He wrote an article in the Globe and Mail which said that the Freedom Convoy should be treated as, his words, seditionist. Time to end the sedition in Ottawa by enforcing the law and following the money. Now, the law he wanted enforced, of course, was the Emergencies Act, which we've come to find out, and which we knew any normal person knew at the time, was illegally invoked, as what was happening, the honking in Ottawa, did definitely not rise to the level of a 9/11 style attack on the homeland. He claimed he was an Ottawa resident. I'd love to see that on paper, because he testified in the United States just last year that he was a resident of Europe. Now, he said it's sedition to honk your horn, like an attack on the homeland from within. That's what he claimed. And he also said, and what's interesting to note there is, follow the money. So use FinTrack to track down the donors to the Freedom Convoy, to freeze the crowdfunding, and to make sure that the bank accounts were frozen of people who donated to the Freedom Convoy as though they were terrorism financiers. These are the same people who can't figure out who's funding all those pro-Hamas rallies on the streets of Toronto. So he was deeply involved in what was going on with the Freedom Convoy, and his name came up in the Public Order Emergency Commission documents, being in direct communication with, thank you guys, being in direct communication with the cabinet ministers making decisions. So if we want to read that directly, they're talking, this is the infamous tanks. How many tanks do we need? As if they were joking.
So this is this is a text chain between Marco Mendicino and David, former, what was he, minister?
Lametti.
David Lametti. That's right. You need to get the police to move, and the CAF if necessary. This is the Canadian Armed Forces if necessary. Too many people are being seriously adversely impacted by what is an occupation. I'm going to get out as soon as I can. People are looking to us for leadership, and not stupid people like Carney, Kath, my team. And then the response is, How many tanks are you asking for? I just want to ask Anita how many we've got on hand. These are Liberal Party insiders. Carney was the architect of the Freedom Convoy takedown,
Yeah.
and he's trying to absolve himself from this disastrous situation that was responsible for freeing Canadians of the tyranny of the terrible dark times of COVID. And here is Mark Carney trying to distance himself from his own actions during that time. This is egregious.
Yeah, we're not hard of remembering. Can we bring up the date of that Globe and Mail article, please?
Oh, February 7th, 2022.
Okay, so the date of the text messages is February 2nd, 2022. So he's pressuring them to act, and then he writes this op-ed as cover for them to act. Can't you see? Now we have prominent Ottawa resident, as if Mark Carney, calling for us to do something. How could we not act? But we know that he was communicating with them 5 days earlier. This is one of those Telford planted op-eds to give the Liberal government cover to do the illegal thing that they did to innocent Canadians.
This guy's a scumbag, an absolute
snake. What a snake.
Yep, a scumbag snake, and he is our installed Prime Minister of Canada. This is what we've got, Canada. We must do everything we can to make sure that he doesn't remain Prime Minister for long.
What an abject liar. He just lies right through his teeth. You cannot trust a single thing that he says.
No.
I just became a politician just a couple of weeks ago. You're in the text messages. We all saw them. He's lying about things that we have document evidence to prove.
And it's so funny because at the time I remember, like, when that text thread was released, I remember thinking, like, who is this Carney character? Like, I was unfamiliar with him at that time, and it didn't become obvious until he announced his candidacy for the Liberal Party of Canada, just how involved he was in that entire decimation of Canadian charter rights.
Yeah,
now
he
we
was
know.
the guy.
Now we know.
He was
You
the guy
can't outrun
pushing
us
for it. Yeah.
Yep. You can't outrun us, Mark Carney. We got your number. We're not letting it go.
Now, Mark Carney, he had a very bad day yesterday. So announcing his candidate Natalie Provost, who is from Poilievre. Now, I disagree with her on literally everything, but she has been a prominent activist in the anti-gun space since she survived a shooting at École
Polytechnic. Yes.
Yeah, and it should be something that's just written on the psyche of Canadians of a certain age. And I mean, there's a lot of glossing over the facts there. Like, it was, of course, a misogynist attack. I would call it an honor killing by an Algerian Canadian that we never actually hear his real name. They call him Marc Lepine, a very Quebecois sounding name, but he is half Algerian, raised by a very strict Algerian father, and his name was actually Gamil Garbi. That was his Algerian name, but you'll always hear him spoken of in the media as Marc Lepine. And it was a mass honor killing is what it was, but we can't use that language because it doesn't advance the gun control narrative. But anyway, Natalie, oh shoot, now I forget her name. Anyways, Mark Carney's candidate, Natalie Provost, thank you, brain for kicking into gear. Natalie Provost, she was on the Liberals gun grabbing panel, actually, and she quit because they weren't grabbing guns fast enough, which is why she's such a chilling candidate. It means that Mark Carney is going to turbocharge the gun grabbing. But Mark Carney, you got to cut him some slack here because he hasn't been in Canada for a while. Let's talk about how he describes Natalie Provost, who is supposed to be a star candidate for him.
I very much regret that I misspoke yesterday. The horrors of the the December 6th massacre at the Polytechnic are very much still with us, and the lessons are still to be fully learned. In fact, I just had a conversation this morning around related issues of conjugal violence. I'm extending the point.
Conjugal
but,
violence?
there.
Conjugal violence?
It's not that was not a question of language. That was a question of misspeaking. I very much regret.
Okay. Before we show how badly he misspoke, because not only did he get her name wrong, he got the shooting wrong. But again, gotta cut him some slack. He hasn't been here in a while. What the heck is conjugal violence? You mean
I'm
domestic
asking.
violence?
Yes, and this is what we're describing as an act of domestic violence. Like this is what we're describing as an act of, because my definition of domestic violence is a lot different than what happened at École Polytechnique in Montreal. There is a mile wide difference. It is completely different. What is he talking about?
You know why I think he used that language? Somebody actually probably showed him the application to get your PAL, your gun license here in Canada. And on your gun license, it asks you, this is how invasive it is. It asks you to list your last conjugal partners. That's what the language they use, your conjugal partners. So I guess, I'm not a hedonist, but does that mean your last one night stand that you don't even know their name? I mean, I don't, whatever. But that's what it asks you. That's how invasive it is. So that's why I think he used that word, conjugal violence. I think he's never actually seen a PAL application before. And so that's why he said conjugal violence instead of domestic violence, which actually has no ties to what happened at École Polytechnique.
Not at all. Okay, so here's the definition of conjugal violence: refers to any form of abuse or violence that occurs between partners in an intimate relationship, such as spouses or domestic partners. So none of those women at École Polytechnique were sleeping with Marc Le Pen. None of them. Like, this wasn't an act of conjugal violence. What is he even talking? Like, this is a guy who can't understand questions in French, and he also can't answer questions in English. This is crazy. Like, this is just insane.
Do we have it? Let's just show the quick clip of that, and then we'll move on from this, because I really want to talk about the Liberals forgetting who's been in charge for the last 10 years.
Okay.
You want des défenseurs de la justice sociale, comme Nathalie Pronovo à Montréal. Nathalie Pronovo, who out of the tragedy of the shootings at Concordia, became a social justice activist, and she's put her hand up and she's running with us. You want all of that diversity, the diversity of our country, because we are all in it together.
We're all in it together.
Gets her. Oh, don't you? Every time I hear that, I just bristle. But here's a candidate that's so beloved and whose experience he so appreciates, that he gets her name wrong, not once, but twice, and then gets the university wrong. And he says it's Concordia that it happened. And everybody that's heard the story, I was hardly alive when this happened. Everybody that heard the story knows that it happened at École Polytechnique, and he says Concordia. Like, this is obviously a guy that doesn't even know the basics of Canadian history, not even the basics. But then again, he's been gone since the late 80s when he took off to Harvard. So I guess maybe we have to forgive him for that.
He said her name wrong twice, and I just imagined the shot of fear and embarrassment that went up the spine of Sean Fraser, who was standing right there, like MP Sean Fraser. He's like,
does it show in his body language? Because it's really hard to mask that when you're noticing somebody else's mistake in public like that. I got to go back and look.
We'll go back and look later.
Okay.
Let's talk about, so this is the Liberals saying that Pierre Poilievre and his Conservative Party abandoned our armed forces and our veterans, and the Liberals stepped up and changed that. I've got things to say. I'm sure Lise does. Let's just watch this. By the way, who's been in charge for 10 years? I hope you find him, Mark Carney, and ask them why the veterans were abandoned.
It's a tricky question.
Under the last Conservative government, when Pierre Poilievre was a minister, that government was spending less than 1% of GDP on defense. And conservatives abandoned our armed forces and shamefully abandoned our veterans, closing area offices across Canada. Since then, Canada has doubled down on our national shipbuilding strategy, which right here in Halifax is creating good paying union jobs for Canadian workers. Under the
Okay, I think that's good. How many veterans did I talk to for our documentary Made?
The Dark Side of Canadian Compassion. That's right.
Exactly. Who were advised, instead of receiving help from Veterans Affairs, the ones that Mark Carney wants to protect, by the way, and I'll get to that in a second. They were offered Made instead of help, either mental help or actual physical help, like a stair lift in their home so that they can maintain some mobility due to a service-related injury. We've got Justin Trudeau telling Liberals they were asking for more than they could give. And we've got our active forces right now deployed to Latvia without proper body armor, proper helmets. Families are sending food. They're using the food banks on our army bases because they're not being paid enough. And that's the Liberals being in charge of the last 10 years. And when they talk about closing those Veterans Affairs offices, that's the Liberals fighting for the Veterans Affairs caseworkers, the people who are offering the Made. What Stephen Harper did was he said, what we're doing is we're bringing those Veterans Affairs offices into Service Canada offices to save costs, so we're not paying for 2 office spaces. And if they're in Veterans Affairs offices, they're actually closer and more accessible to the veterans because there are more Service Canada offices than there are Veterans Affairs offices. And the Liberals got mad about that because that meant those union jobs were being lost. The angels of death in the Veterans Affairs offices might get streamlined out of business, and the service would be closer to the veterans that needed it.
That's exactly right. So more accessible and more efficient under the Service Canada umbrella. But we also have veterans that are living in their cars off base and then showing up for work the following day. And only 40% of Canada's armed forces are combat ready. The rest of Canadian forces have been taken over by these crazy DEI initiatives that don't serve them, don't help them. And if you haven't seen, Sheila, I just gotta hype you right now. If you haven't seen Sheila's documentary Made, The Dark Side of Canadian Compassion, you can see it on Tubi, which is a free streaming app on your phone or on any of your electronic devices. It absolutely changed the way I view our government. I think up until that point, Sheila, I believed somewhere deep down in me that the government actually cared about Canadians, and that they would be working somewhere, in the background in our best interest. And it was that documentary that completely changed my outlook on this. When you see this film, if it doesn't put a chill down your spine, I don't know what will, because it is a perfect illustration of how much our government hates us, what they are doing to destroy us, and how they are not serving the best interest of Canadians because they are offering them death instead of help. It is crazy. You guys must go and watch this. It's an incredible, incredible watch. It's directed by our friend Kian Simone, and he is just a brilliant filmmaker. And starring Sheila Gunn Reid. Yeah.
And I just big thank you to all the people who shared their raw stories with us to make that documentary, because we went to people who have been touched by Made in all aspects, young and old, people who struggled with mental health, people who had survived suicide attempts. Our friend Andrew Lawton really opened up about that. We talked to veterans, we talked to families left behind, and we even talked to people like my friend Michelle Sterling from Friends of Science. Her brother received Made under the old protocol, the more careful protocol, and she is so against what is happening now. and
there's
how
no
quickly
safeguards.
it marched. There are no
Nope.
safeguards. Yeah.
There are no safeguards. And I remember back, it must have been in like 2011, 2012, 2013, when we were talking about MAID as a program that the Canadian government were going to offer Canadians. It was sold to us as something that was going to be so rare, so exceedingly rare, and it was actually an act of benevolence to offer people who were going to die anyway. They have taken off every single safeguard and every guardrail from keeping the government from abusing it. And you will never, I promise you, if you watch that film, you will never, ever, ever look at the government of Canada or the Liberal Party the same again. It is that moving.
Thank you. Appreciate
You're
that.
welcome.
Last story on the ridiculousness of Chrystia Freeland, whom you know I am here for the electricity of the Freeland for re-election campaign. Announcement yesterday. Canada has frozen all rebate payments for Tesla and banned the electric vehicle maker from future EV rebate programs. So if you want the best EV out there, for political reasons, because these people are anti-Trump, now your Tesla no longer qualifies for EV rebate programs. You have to buy the ones that are highly government subsidized by foreign companies in Quebec and Ontario, including Northvolt, which is going broke in its parent company or in its parent country.
You know, just when you think the Liberal Party of Canada and their government couldn't get any stupider, they go along and they come along and do something exactly like this, because if they think that this isn't going to be noticed by the United States, by President Trump and by Elon Musk, and retaliated against, I mean, they are blind, deaf, and dumb. They are Helen Keller level blind, deaf, and dumb. This is not going to be viewed or treated with kid gloves. I mean, this is a stupid move from the top to the bottom. But what can we expect of our current Liberal Party of Canada or their government?
You know who they're cutting EV rebates for, though, is Volkswagen. And people who are concerned about fascism should know the history of Volkswagen. And Volkswagen using internment camp slave labor to produce their vehicles during World War II. But we won't want to talk about real fascism. We're talking about Elon Musk is allowing people to speak their minds on the internet style fascism.
Elon Musk is dismantling government waste and fraud in the federal government in the United States. There's a bunch of public sector union workers in the United States who are pretty mad at Elon Musk, and so, but this is just an incredibly stupid move that they're gonna pay for it. Just watch.
Oh, for sure.
We're not seeing it yet, but we're gonna. Because the United States is not taking any prisoners as it pertains to this. This is a stupid move, and it defies all of their, green and net zero and all of their own policy. So, which side are you on? The anti-Trump side or the Earth is burning side? Like, pick a lane, guys. Pick a lane.
Let's get to some of these chats so that I can skip off into my next meeting, which I'm late for, but that's okay. I'm always happy to be late for a meeting. This one is from Kane Enmark, and I can read this one on air. He gives us $5 and says, "This year, will I have a chance to vote Lise for the best rebel?" I hope you do.
Oh my God, I'm going to start campaigning right now. Thank you so much. I would be honored. You know what? I live my life like an Oscar acceptance speech, so I can't wait. I'm ready. Thanks so much, buddy. Thank you so much.
Then we've got another one that from Nana Awake, again, gives us $10. Thank you so much. Remember the days when our politicians would walk down streets and speak to citizens and reporters? Not over the past 10 years. You're treated like a criminal for not buying into their propaganda. Amen, sister.
Oh, Nana Awake, we want more of you on this program because you just speak the truth to us. Yeah.
Well, you're getting more of her because here comes Nana Awake with another $5 and says he will never be my prime minister, not now or ever. And if they steal another election, we need to refuse to sit back and take it. We are Canadian. This is our nation. I think you're going to see such boiling separatism in the West, it will be uncontainable.
Oh, without question, without question. And yeah, thanks so much for that comment, Nana Awake. Yeah, thanks so much for that. You're right. Canadians will be absolutely outraged if they steal this next election. They will be absolutely outraged.
Or if it's given to them by Toronto boomers.
It's you're going to see a unity crisis unlike any other in the history of Canadian Confederation, and there will be real hard questions that they're going to have to answer for. Western Canadians just will not stand for it. The end.
No. And Kim Allen gives us $2.79 and says, "Great work, ladies." Well, thank you so much. We will do our very best to continue to do that great work.
Yes.
It is 12:35 out here on the prairies. We've been giving her for an hour and 35 minutes. I think that's lots. Olivia, if there's anything behind the board that we need to. Okay, perfect. Thank you for the reminder. Those of you who are Rumble Premium subscribers, we've got a little something extra for you. So if you are a Rumble Premium subscriber, after the live stream today, we will stream our last night's episode of the Ezra Levant Show for you. So normally that is a show that sits behind the Rebel News Plus paywall, and the Rebel News Plus paywall is only $8 a month. That's a coffee a week. Just go to
so
Rebel
worth
News
it.
Plus. Yes.
Oh,
you'll
such
find
a
all
good
of our
investment.
documentaries.
Yes.
Or all of our documentaries are there too. So
yeah.
if you don't want to, you can find it there. That's at rebelnewsplus.com. But as an added benefit to our Rumble Premium subscribers, you will get last night's Ezra Levant show right after I stop talking, after I say goodbye, after Lise says goodbye. So just stick around. Lise, say your goodbyes.
Hey guys, thanks so much for joining us again today. Tuesday and Wednesday have fast become my favorite days of the week. And I just want you to know that I'm counting down the hours until we get back here again next Tuesday. Please don't do anything important, and please don't have there be any big news, because then I will have to contain myself. But Sheila, thanks so much for making this magic happen. And I'll see you next week. Same place, same time.
And as my friend David Menzies always says, and as I said yesterday, I don't think he takes his own advice. Stay safe and stay sane.
Tonight, a feature interview with the head of a new free speech organization in Canada. But first, is Mark Carney in trouble for trying to extort banks? I'll give you some